Right, people, I've made a list, and this is what the More James Allcott channel is about. It's an opportunity for me to talk, but to really hear from you guys. And I think this is what we do well, is that we talk about these kind of things, quite emotive things. And I'm going to look at the different angles of it, and I just want to get your take on it as we work along it. Of course, I'll give mine as well. But of course, Real Madrid in talks over finalising Alexander-Arnold signing. Big news, but one that when I put a tweet out kind of asking people how they felt about it, lots of you guys were like, well, we knew this was happening, and there was a lot of rat emojis as well. But again, that's on Twitter. We get it. There's funny memes there. People saying Joe Gomez took the corner against Barcelona. But let's have this conversation. Let's talk, because of course it is painful. But as we break it down and look along this list that I've got, I've written down legacy, the fact that he's Scouse, Steve McManaman, I'll come back to that, the state of play, talk starting years ago. I'm talking about all the things that I seem to have collected. I've basically been at Spotify all day, and then I made my way back, and on the train I've seen this break. So I'm then sort of writing down thoughts, but also things that I'm seeing knocking about, and I'm intrigued to know what you think. So get involved in the comments down below. Subscribe if you like this kind of video where we have that kind of conversation. I want to talk about what he's leaving behind, this idea of a new challenge in a new country. And a big question here, can anyone say no to Real Madrid? Let's start with the state of play here, because I think Alexander-Arnold, of course, his contract is running down very soon. This is all stuff that you absolutely, obviously know. But I think one thing that is winding people up is the fact that he's been possibly talking to Real Madrid for 2 years. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate a bit here. So if you can strip away the kind of outrageous kind of angry fire, then I think it would just be a more interesting conversation, right? His contract's up, and Real Madrid are in talks over finalising the signing of Liverpool fullback. You know, something that we've been talking about a lot on the channel. Spoke to Paul Machin about it. I spoke to Lawrence McKenna about it. And it's been interesting to get their takes on it. And I think with the talks around Salah and Virgil van Dijk and Trent, the one player that people felt was replaceable was Trent. But this article, which I'll put a link in the description for, I think is really interesting when it comes to him being replaceable. Because for me, he's the one that can go. Him going for no money, we'll come back to that, because I think that's super interesting. But I found this article on Sky talking about how irreplaceable he is. And I think it's really fascinating, because is this a system thing, or is it you've got someone with the magic? And I think that's a key word here when we're talking about Trent. The magic that he has as a right back, and that has been kind of exacerbated in the style of play to get as much out of him as possible. I mean, ultimately, I'm saying on the ball, he is world class, and they've allowed him to be world class, and they've played a style of football that has suited him both when it comes to Jurgen Klopp and, of course, Arne Slot as well. And a big part of that is Mo Salah, because we're talking about Mo Salah. Is he going to stay? Some people think yes, some people think no. Virgil van Dijk, I think a lot of people think he's going to stay. But that partnership of these two is a really interesting one. So here's a few stats when it comes to Trent on the ball. Only Kevin De Bruyne has created more chances since Trent Alexander-Arnold made his Premier League debut. Let's remember, he's a right back. Because I think a lot of people will go, well, he's not great defensively anyway, so don't worry about it. He ranks third for chances created. He's a right back. Chances created from open play, sixth. Chances created from set place, you can read, right? Through balls, assists. The vision and the magic that he's able to provide is really incredibly high. The most expected is assists. He's a right back. I think I didn't think he was this good until I started kind of looking at these stats. But again, the question comes: is that a stylistic thing that can, when you take that plaster off and you see the wound of loss of creativity, can you chuck some Sudocrem on that and sort that out and patch that up? Passes into the opponent's box. This shows how key he is here, right at the end of all of it. Although it's disappeared now. Don't worry about that. You saw it, didn't you? If you didn't, wind back. Switches of play. another big aspect of what he's able to bring. And I think the way he's able to do that with such kind of velocity is such a weapon for Liverpool as well. So on the ball, really, really, really impressive. And that partnership with Mo Salah, also really worth talking about. Obviously, most chances created, you expected him to be out in front. Of course you did. But can Mo Salah hit the exact same heights without Trent in the team? And of course, during the season, there's been moments where he's been injured and Mo Salah's been able to kind of get it done regardless. But over a longer period of time, if Mo Salah is to sign, it's one that actually I didn't connect those dots of what Trent provides in terms of that ball over the top or him stepping in and playing those little passes. The creativity between the pair has been really, really strong throughout both of their careers because they both kind of burst on the scene at the same time. This is the other side of it. Most times dribbled past. And when I'm looking at my agenda here, him working out at Real Madrid is interesting to me because I think as this plays out, I always think, what's the story? And what's going to be the story moving forward? And in terms of being exposed defensively, I'm fascinated to see the sort of tipping of the scales for Liverpool has been because he's one of your own and because he has such magic and because he's so good with the ball, it's okay that people attack down that side. And it's okay that he gets dribbled past every so often because you've got someone like Konate to go and sort it out, or Gravenberch to sort it out, or Henderson to sort it out. At Real Madrid, with the style of play that they have, which is different, they have the ability to suffer. Jude Bellingham spoken about that. But in this team of absolutely incredible elite players, no doubt he's going to play some incredible crosses into Bellingham, passes into Vinicius Jr. Like you can see him making that, that David Beckham assist where he curls it and it like goes past 5 players and then finds Ronaldo. You could see Trent doing that. And they're going to have the ball most of the time. So you can see him doing that as well. Chris Page made a really interesting point. He says actually he sees him as the Cruz replacement more than the Carvajal replacement. Time will tell with that. And of course, a new manager might bring a new system as well. But I can't get away from the fact, and I'm intrigued, I think back in the day, the distance between playing in this country, and obviously I'm talking to, more English fans right now, or British fans, you didn't have that same spotlight abroad because there probably wasn't the same level of access to see it and to hear about it. Now, it is on your doorstep. It is everywhere to be seen. Kids running around in Real Madrid shirts, in Barcelona shirts. And so there is that focus on La Liga. And so Trent will be watched. And that protection that he's had is not going to be there. Does that matter when it comes to this decision, on a human level? I think when you strip it back, in terms of what he wants to do as a player, I don't think there's anything wrong in him wanting to explore new territories, to tick the boxes of what a professional footballer has the opportunity to take, like the ability to go down that road down Real Madrid Avenue. I think that's a tough one to say no to. But I think the anger here is, the fact that he is scoused. I think there's a feeling that, no, being at home is best for me. But every person is different. And I think when we're thinking of the state of play, both financially for teams, but also for players as well, the focus that we're seeing as time progresses is one towards that American idea, that American model of being LeBron James, not being Michael Jordan, not being at Chicago Bulls and only Chicago Bulls. I know obviously went to the Wizards. But now you're seeing these players, they'll move. Because it's about experiencing life, experiencing different opportunities, experience the glamour and the clamour of, that's a word, right? Of Real Madrid. I think that is a very, very difficult thing for any player to say no to. And of course, there have been examples of that. Steven Gerrard has said no in the past. But I think with the way that it's working now with contracts and transfers and the amount of money that you want for certain players, the fact that those unlimited funds to go and splash the cash and go for it have to be kind of accumulated over time, or you have to be careful. You have to get your, balance books in place and make them correct. I think there is a new bracket of player, elite player, when they think about the worth that they are valuing themselves at. I think those players when you've got one career and you're looking around, I think we will see this time and time and time again over this next era of transfers, where the top players make their decision 2 years out. And this idea of him talking to Real Madrid, I think it takes two to tango in both sides of this. One, in terms of Liverpool getting it done and seeing how much are you worth, and understanding, I think now with players who are going to run down their contract, you essentially, not wholeheartedly, you haven't got to spend 100 million on someone, but you got to show them the money. You have to. That transfer fee that you would spend on the next replacement, you have to spend on Trent, because Trent he's already spending or accumulating that money. And I don't think you can have an outrageous go at players for looking to accumulate that kind of wealth. I think it's, again, in terms of the Americanization of understanding of your power as a brand, as a player, with the market that is out there, it is an individual sport in that sense. And yes, it's obviously got to be absolutely heartbreaking. I'm not discounting that whatsoever. But I think if Liverpool wanted him enough, they could have got this done. And so if you are really annoyed at Trent going, if you can't understand the financials of this, I think the blame probably lies... blame, I guess it's an overall broad decision of Trent, and if Arsenal are after him or another team are after him, even like a Barcelona, as flying as they are, the financial difficulties that they've had, that might be one where you go, do you know what, I'm just going to stay here because we're going to be in the hunt for the Champions League year in, year out. And of course Barcelona are as well. But I think Real Madrid specifically, with this squad, with that group and the age of that group and the opportunity to be in that squad right now, I think is incredibly difficult to turn down. And then when you add in the money side of it, I think that's a huge, huge part of this as well. And not in a sense of overall greed, but just in terms of understanding your value. Roy Keane talks about it a lot in terms of it's important, it matters. And it kind of doesn't, of course the numbers are always going to be gargantuan, but also in terms of going and winning, just going and experiencing what it's like to be a Real Madrid player, that is the lure of that. I think is very, very difficult. And I appreciate for Liverpool fans, this is really difficult for you to hear, because the rivalry with Real Madrid is built, and when you've got one who you think is your own, you're desperate for him to stay. But could Liverpool got this done 2 years ago? I wrote down McManaman. Steve McManaman had a similar fate, literally, very similarly, went to Real Madrid, didn't he? And he speaks about the fact that there's two players in this, and the same goes with Real Madrid talking to Trent, and Trent, yes, of course, Trent's talking to Real Madrid, but Real Madrid want to talk to him as well. And I think everyone's talking to everyone all the time, and I think always have. They've always done it. No one's gone, no, don't talk to me. You can't do that. Everyone's talking to everyone. Surely. And this is interesting. When Real Madrid want a guy, and they can see it 2 years out, with the state of play, sorry, I've said it again, financially in modern football right now, for the elite guys to get the guys they want, I don't think it's about splashing the cash to get them anymore. It's about waiting long enough and accumulating the right players at the right time that are going to work for you. I think that's pretty much everything. I think in terms of actually last thing, what is he leaving behind here? I think that is an important thing, and that ties into the legacy thing. Should any of us be really caring about legacy? I think that's a really interesting talking point, right? Staying somewhere even though you weren't really, you're not utterly fulfilled. We talk about happiness. Often the idea is kind of variety, because variety feels exciting, right? If you're stuck in the same room every day, and you'd never leave it, you're going to get bored with that room. Not my best analogy, but the worst ones do seem to live on this channel. But in terms of what he's leaving behind, the power of the emotion of the possibility of those Premier League titles and another Champions League win, the power of that is something that I think makes this a really tricky decision for him, and one that you just don't know if he's going to be happy with it or not. But I do understand this idea of like, you've got to kind of, weirdly, you kind of have to find out. The fact they're not making money on this, I know feels glaring. I don't think he'll be the last asset like this that goes without making a penny for that club. I think this could become far more common personally. But what do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm curious. So talk to me, all right? Subscribe whilst you're there. All right, speak soon.